back to the Meeple Marathon. Today I want to talk about Lorcana's first co-op expansion, the Illumineer's Quest Deep Trouble. Lorcana has been a big hit in the TCG world, and I have been playing it personally. I've been playing it, multiplayer. I also was playing it online until Disney killed that. Pixelborn, I think it was called. But I've had a lot of fun with the theme and just with the card play. But having a cooperative expansion was very exciting to me because then I wouldn't always have to wait to find someone to play with. I could test out decks on my own, or just if I needed a Lorcana fix, because they're such quick games, I could simply play a game on my own. So I was highly anticipating this Illumineer's Quest Deep Trouble. And I have some opinions on it that I'd like to share with you. But before I get into my opinions, let's look at how the game is played. So in a game of Deep Trouble, and I'm assuming future Illumineer's quests as well, you are playing exactly the same. So nothing changes for the human player. For Ursula, however, she, like a lot of typical AIs, kind of gets to cheat. She makes things very easy for you, makes her very easy to control. I'm going to say it again and again and again, makes her also very difficult. At the start of her turn, and her turn order is a little different. She doesn't actually draw her cards until after she has resolved the cards in her row, because that will make a difference. That does curb her a little bit. So first thing you're going to do on your turn is ready all of her cards if they are, say, exhausted. I tend to just leave them exhausted because flipping them over and then immediately flipping them back over or exhausting them to gain their lore seems kind of silly in my opinion. But after you have resolved the row, so everything in the row is resolved, then you're going to draw up her hand. At the start of the game, her hand size is determined by what the player count is and the difficulty. So these other large cards here, there's a big foil Ursula card. This is really just for collection's sake. Doesn't really serve any purpose. But then there's these cards, two double-sided large cards that are called battlegrounds. These are what set the difficulty in the game. And so we have this one on easy, we have this side as normal, and then there is a hard and an extreme. So you can see here on hard, Ursula draws one more card each turn. So whatever the player count hand size is, you would just increase it by one on this little tracker up here. Otherwise, say it's her turn, she would have tapped or exhausted the stolen trident for 1, and she's trying to get to 40, which is good for you because she's going to get there very fast. But in this case, she would simply draw 2 cards. They recommend you do it like this because there might be cards in her hand or cards in her row that say draw a card. So when that card activates, you would move a card over to here, or you might play a card that says return a card to the owner's hand. So you would take it out of her play area and put it up here. But everything up here, she is going to attempt to play. So then one at a time, you would pick these up and resolve them. So here we have Flotsam here. Flotsam is a 4-cost 5/5 card. He's got some additional text here. He's a bodyguard, basically. We cannot afford him, though. Ursula doesn't have any ink, or she cannot afford him. So she's going to immediately just take Flotsam and ink him. So you can set him down in the inkwell there. Then we're going to flip this card over and see if we can resolve it. Well, she can, because this one costs nothing. So a 2/3 that's absolutely free. This card now is going to go in. It goes in unexerted, essentially like the ink drying, but it also means we can't attack Triton's daughters yet. Since she could afford it, it goes in. If she couldn't have afforded it, it would go into her inkwell. That's essentially the end of her turn. We would play again our turn as normal, and then we would come back to her. Technically, you should ready all the cards and then exhaust them to gain the lore. In this case, she would gain 2 lore, one from her item and one from Triton's daughters. Then again, she would draw 2 cards. She is then going to resolve these cards in order. So here we have Capsize. This one's close, but not quite. She doesn't have the ink to play it, so she's going to take it and put it in her inkwell. And up next we have Tsunami, which is a very big and powerful card. Luckily, we got this early in the game, so she's also going to ink it. It's an interesting mix of her inking. I haven't quite figured out what the sweet spot is for playing against her and being successful against her as far as her card draws are concerned. Is it better to get the big cards out early, but then her inkwell gets really big super fast? Or is it best to get some of the small cards out, fill up her row with smaller cards that you can deal with, and keep her inkwell minimized at the beginning? I don't know. I don't know which one works better for the players. But that's it. Essentially, she just keeps going back and forth. Anytime a card text says "your," she's referring to herself. Opposing player is me, the human player. And we just go back and forth. She is trying to get to 40, and I am trying to just get to 20. So right off the bat, I want to make sure you guys are aware that my opinions thus far of Deep Trouble are entirely centered around solo play. I've yet to play this multi-handed or multiplayer. You can technically play up to 4 people against Ursula, and it scales essentially with the amount of cards she draws and plays out of her hand each time. First of all, let's talk about price point. I think this game is a little pricey for what they're offering you. I have not torn open the surprise whatever's in that surprise package yet. I don't know if that's going to be some type of amazing card, but you know, we're talking the standard cheap cardboard chits for tracking health and stuff like that, which I just threw away. I did grab these 2 things out of there because I don't have a dial that goes up to 40, and this one is specifically designed to track her hand size. But other than that, you're essentially just getting 3 decks, 2 of which are starter decks, but half the cards are easily cards that we've seen before. There's not a whole lot of new stuff in these decks. And then there is the obvious deck, the Deep Trouble deck, the AI deck, which you cannot play. You cannot mix those cards in. The only thing to do with that deck is play against it as a AI controlled deck. So you're essentially paying full MSRP for 3 starter decks, if you can consider them all starter decks. To me, it's a little pricey. I was expecting a little more out of the box. Also, I'm just gonna be frank, it's challenging. It's a incredibly challenging scenario. I have been playing on easy and normal and have been struggling greatly against Ursula. And I don't know why they made it so difficult. There is an extreme mode that I cannot even imagine how people get to that point and are successful at that point. I guess, and I also have been playing with the included decks, and I have decks of my own. At some point, I'm going to be bringing those in to see if those are maybe more successful. But I would hope that on easy and even normal, that you could get through this game with the decks provided, the 2 decks provided. I would have hoped that they would have synergized those decks in a way that say, hey, there's something about these decks that can help you get out there and be successful. But that doesn't seem to be the case. The last thing, and I actually have recorded a little bit of a playthrough. It's near the end because I wanted you guys to see how quickly Ursula ramps up and gets very difficult. The last thing is that this game, a game you play against Ursula, is a pure race for lore. There's no really strategic board control. There's no back and forth. It's essentially you basically just get your people out there and try and get to 20 before she gets to 40. Because, and this drives me crazy, they say in the rules of Ursula's rule book, if a card says reckless, has the keyword reckless, it will attack you because it shouldn't have a lore stat, right? Those characters can only challenge, and that's standard. That was an easy rule. I said, okay, yeah, it makes sense. I played a couple games, and then I finally said, I have not seen a single reckless card. So I flipped over the deck again and looked through it, this time specifically looking for the keyword reckless, and saw none. There are no cards in Ursula's deck that say reckless. So if you don't mess with her, she is not going to mess with you. Now, her action cards definitely mess with you. But you could simply just put cards out and hope that action cards aren't going to come out which do direct damage to your characters or banish them or things like that. And again, you're just racing to your 20 while she's racing to her 40. Obviously, she ramps up very quickly and sometimes can get 4 cards out on the board that are all gaining lore at the same time. But the times I have seen other people be successful is that they get lucky with the card draw and are able to mitigate the actions that are drawn. Ursula doesn't end up with a lot on the board, and they simply get to the point where they can, in 2 turns, maybe cover the spread from 8 to 20, and bam, they've won. And Ursula at no point is trying to take out your board, other than through the action cards. And I think that's a little bit of a weak strategy. I feel like we could do better. So, with all that being said, instead of you guys just listening to me drone on, let's look at a kind of a game in action using one of the included decks, playing against Ursula midway through the game, where I feel like I have the board under control. I feel like I'm doing well, and then all of a sudden it turns into a nightmare. Here's an example of why I think they made this Illumineer's quest unnecessarily hard and may turn off some people. So I'm about 4 rounds into the game. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, because I have 4 ink. So this is the start of the 5th round. If you see the board state here, I'm doing okay. Ursula is essentially questing for 4, and I'm questing for 3, but I've got Mulan here drawing. She is, going to be helpful. So I'm basically matching Ursula. I'm halfway, and she's at 15. So, it's still a tight game. But I just want to point out some things here. Her cards are heavily weighted. I don't know what the term is, but she's got Mad Hatter here, who comes out a 3/5 for 2 ink. She is getting ink almost automatically and can get more than 1 ink per turn. But then on top of that, she's got cards like this that are way overpowered. She also has a 4/4 card here for 2 ink that has a as an ability, not a bad one, but and then Prince Eric, a 2/5 bodyguard for 1 ink. So as you can see already at this point, for very low ink cost, she is controlling the board. And at this point, I have no... Okay, so fine. But also, she's got, however many she's hitting on 4 per turn. I only need to get 10 more. So at this point, I have no interest in attempting to battle her. It's at this point a pure race to 20. And I think I can get there. Also, there are no cards in her deck that say Reckless. In the rulebook, it says if a card has Reckless and doesn't have any lore capabilities, no questing capabilities, it will attack you. Okay, as I'm reading the instructions, I'm like, perfect. So that determines whether that character is going to attack. There's probably a mixture in there. So, I'll want to keep an eye out for those to be able to block that or put a bodyguard out myself, whatever it may be. There's not a single card in her deck that says Reckless. So I know at this point, at this board state, I could simply just ride it out and I will probably get to 10 faster than she will get to 25. That's not exactly fun, in my opinion. But, okay. I started this rant in discussing why I felt like she was unnecessarily hard. So, overpowered cards. I would be perfectly fine with her getting free ink and then, being able to play a card without having to spend the ink if they were balanced more like mine were. If a 1-cost card came out that I could easily handle with my, say, 2-cost card, I sacrifice them both, boom, they're off the board. Keep board control. But then, on top of it, so I played this one out to get Ursula to 15. Here we have Crushing Wave. Deals 2 damage to each opposing character. So, fine. All of a sudden, I have lost my board control because every single one of these is going to go out. And Mulan here, who's, going to be coming in, is down to 1 damage. Now, I have my Dingle Hopper. That's the main point of this game, the yellow and red deck that comes as the starter deck with the pack. Basically being able to heal off the damage on your characters. There's lots of heal cards lots of cards that have support, so they quest and they give people boosts. So ideally, you want to get cards like Mulan out. She's questing for 2, giving her 2 to someone else. That person is taking out, clearing the board, and the Dingle Hopper is healing them off, or other characters are healing them off. That's your hope with this deck. But again, in one foul swoop, Ursula has, you know, just completely wiped me out. There is no 4-cost card in a standard player's deck that would do that. And then on top of it, we've got Magica Dispel here. She's going to come in for 3 ink, 4/4, with 2 lore. You know, she's essentially the same as Bruno, but for 1 ink more, you're getting 1 more lore. So she's going to come in like that. I'm going to play the next couple hands just so you guys could see, and I have no idea what's going to happen. I've got, you know, a big card. I've got the big Maui card here in my hand that I'm holding on to, hoping I can get there. I also got Scar, who definitely would be one of the ones that I would want to come in and try and take out people like Prince Eric and then heal up, you know. But this is more of a long game. This deck is more of a long game because Dinglehopper only heals 1 character 1 at a time. Playing the Ursula is just a race to 20, and that's not nearly as exciting to me. But let's go ahead and play out my turn here and see where things are at. Okay, so I've got Lost in the Woods here, which would be helpful because I would have loved to have had this with the board state I had just a minute ago, because then I could have used a lot of my guys to ping off people like Prince Eric and, you know, Mad Hatter and take minimal damage. But I'm going to have to hold on to this. I'm going to go ahead and spend all my ink to get Scar out and drying. I will use the Dinglehopper here to simply heal up Mulan a little bit. And then Mulan is going to just quest, because, again, I'm just racing to 20. And we'll see if we can get there without really taking on the board state. So I'm not going to bother readying all these cards, but this is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So boom. She has now, I'm playing on normal difficulty. She has now surpassed the point where she's going to start drawing extra cards. And that's not cool. So she's going to start drawing 3 cards now. And she's pretty close to being at the point where she can play just about anything in her hand. So, Entangling Magic. Each opposing player discards a card, then put this card into your inkwell face down. All right, so now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's up to 6 magic. I'm still holding out hope for Maui, so we're gonna play. Although I may not get to Maui, so I'm gonna put Maui in my discard pile. At least I haven't inked him. There are cards that are gonna allow me to get him back. Let's look at another card of hers. Okay, the Hexwell Crown. Now, I'm not sure if she... I don't think she exerts that yet, because she's already resolved the row. So, but next turn, she's basically going to be drawing 4 until I get rid of that card. And then last but not least, we have Riptide. Banish all opposing characters, items, and locations with cost 2 or less. So I've lost my heal. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could see this being a 6. You know, Crushing Wave is only a 4. I mean, hopefully at this point you would have gotten out your smaller characters, done something with them, and not felt so bad. The Dinglehopper hurts, losing my Dinglehopper. Anyways, again, we're just racing to 20 here. So we're going to come back. Scar's going to come in. And the question is, do I just continue to race? Do I use Scar to take... I think I'm going to use... Yeah, I'm going to use my 4 ink to sing this song. So all opposing characters get -2. And Mulan's going to quest for 2. So I'm up to 14 now. I'm getting pretty close, right? She is giving Scar 2, even though he doesn't really need it. So he's at 7. I have to take out Prince Eric first. But Prince Eric is basically negated, so Scar will take out Prince Eric. We'll see if we can't... I I don't really want to spend any of my lore on the battlegrounds. The battlegrounds are nice, but again, it's a race to 20, or for Ursula's sake, it's 40. So this is probably the most damaging to your progress, is reducing lore to pay for these abilities. Again, another negative. So that's pretty much my turn right there. Let's see what she does. So she is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she is jumping up to 26. She's drawing an extra card, so you take care of that. Now we go here and we draw up to her, we add to her hand. So she's dealing 4 cards this time. Typhoon, return all opposing exerted characters to their player's hands. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So now all of a sudden I have nothing to race from my final 6. Capsize. If you have 6 or less, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 or less, yes. Put the top 3 cards of your deck into your inkwell face down. 1, 2, 3. And anytime those cards say you, it's as if somebody were controlling Ursula, and you read the cards for Ursula's sake. So that one didn't hurt, because there's not so many cards. Triton's Daughters are not going to hurt as much. And another freaking Prince Eric, who's going to come in exerted. I'm like off the board now. And let's see what we can do here. So, basically at this point, I'm trying to get out as much as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to ink my Rolly here so that I can get Mulan and Pegasus down, in hopes to just, again, race to... It will take me 2 rounds to get to 20. All right, coming back to Ursula. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for Prince Eric all the way off the board. So that is 33. So if I can't address anything, she will win the next turn. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we went from being in an excellent state to, and this is just pushing my point here, that this is crushing. This is normal difficulty, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll play these the way I drew them. Typhoon, return all opposing exerted characters. Good. So that one didn't hurt me. Shark, yeah, he's going to come out. Big Bully. When you play this character, deal 2 damage to each opposing damaged character. Okay, luckily that didn't hurt me either. But again, way outpaced here. If you have 7 or more, each opposing player chooses and banishes one of their characters. I mean, that would have hurt if that was the only card she played. And opposing players can't use battleground abilities at the start of your turn. Banish this item to gain 3 lore. Best thing I can do here is push up Mulan. She can't even take out Prince Eric, who's bodyguard. So the best she can do here is quest for 2. Technically, I get to draw a card, but I doubt there's anything here. So Rapunzel could come out and remove 2 damage. She's one of the heal cards. But that's it. You know, Scar doesn't have rush or anything like that. So yeah, I have basically lost the game. There's no way for me to stop Ursula from getting the remaining 7 she needs. So let's circle back to my issues with this set. This was on normal. Easy's not that much different. Easy simply means that she doesn't boost up when she reaches the halfway point. So she stays at 2, drawing 2 cards the whole time. But something like the Hexwell Crown comes out, and you're not playing the other. The other deck is better suited to get rid of the items. This one is not. The boosts here are a little bit better. Like this one is, this one can heal, which is helpful. But they still cost 1, 2, and 3 lore. 1, 2, and 3 lore. It's not like they're cheaper. So playing on easy still is not that easy. I think that, unfortunately, the difficulty of this set is going to turn people off from looking at this in the future. Like I mentioned earlier, this was $60 for essentially 3 starter decks, one of which you cannot use any of the cards. I can break up these decks and use these cards. Some of them were new, some of them were unique to this set, but really that's essentially paying full MSRP for 3 starter decks. I could care less about having, you know, this large fancy Ursula card. Hopefully, if they do this again, this is what I think they need to come out with. Come out with a basic mat. Not one that says Ursula at the top here or has Ursula's turn order. Just put the standard turn order right here. Keep the same rules the same, but, you know, tone down the opposing cards. Like, I would love to hear about somebody who's even beaten this on hard, let alone on extreme, because I don't think it's possible. And give us some cards that say reckless on them. Make it so it's not just a pure race to 40. Because a lot of your success in this game right now is luck of what Ursula draws early on. You can see here I was getting pretty lucky early on. Then cards like Tamatoa and Minnie Mouse came out, Lightning Storm. These were all inked because I couldn't afford them. So there we go. This is what got inked right off the bat. Gaston early, it was the first one, so luckily he didn't get played. Tamatoa is a pretty big beast. Hey Hey's got evasive. Minnie Mouse is a beast, and Lightning Storm can really just hurt. So I was getting lucky early on, but you saw how quickly the tables turned, and all of a sudden a couple cards from her, and I am completely cut off from gaining lore. And you can see she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards in her play area that are all gaining her lore. And this was on normal. I have played plenty of games of Lorcana head-to-head. I am by far no expert, no tournament player or anything like that. But I consider myself good enough to beat this game on normal, and have 16, honestly, is the best as I've gotten. Is as close as I've gotten. I think this is the first time I've actually broken double digits on normal. So, that's my thought. I think that this pack is a little overpriced, and I think it is a little brutal. What probably is going to happen for me, because I do enjoy being able to play this when I don't have somebody else to play against. If I'm just sitting around my house at night and stuck at home, I can still test out some decks. I can still play some Lorcana. But maybe like house rule that a certain cards have reckless or something like that. Maybe put a low adhesive sticker on some of the cards. Maybe sleeve some cards and throw the sticker on the sleeve to give them reckless. They can still quest, but if there's a card that they can attack of mine, maybe they'll go after it. Also, you know, I don't know, something about this huge ramping up, and maybe it's also solo. Maybe playing pure solo is just too difficult. So I'll probably at some point play a game of this two-handed and see if that's any better. She does start off drawing 3 cards and then ramps up to 4 cards per turn, but I guess maybe there's more opportunities for you to clear the board in between turns, because essentially you each get a turn. You play simultaneously if you're playing multiplayer, and then Ursula gets her turn. So it's not like I go, she goes, my partner goes, she goes, so on and so forth. Anyways, I know I'm kind of rambling at this point. This was a little bit of a disappointment for me. I was highly looking forward to this, but it's just been brutal playing these games, and it's been kind of turning me off a little bit. So that's my thoughts on Ursula's Illumineer's Quest, Deep Trouble. Again, I hope they continue doing this. I hope they don't just stop with this. Just tone it down a little bit. Reel it in. So that's my thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.